Over the past year and a half, economic grievances have pushed record numbers of people from all over the world to the streets. In 2022, more than 12,000 protests took place worldwide, in both democratic and autocratic countries, over the rising cost of living and lack of access to basic goods. In the EU, since the beginning of 2022, more than 3,000 public protests sparked over grievances related to inflation and low salaries. France and Germany witnessed the highest number of such protests, followed by Spain, Italy, and Hungary. Social unrest in the EU is likely to continue in the near future, not least due to the persistent inflation in the price of staple goods such as energy or food. One major risk related to social unrest is that it erodes democracy. This risk becomes more serious if the public thinks the government reacts ineffectively or unjustly to a crisis. In the worst-case scenario, mistrust against the government can turn into mistrust in the democratic system itself. If this happens, extremist and populist forces can instrumentalize public anger to gain power, either through elections or through violent insurgency. But social unrest can also consolidate democracy if it remains peaceful and a constructive dialogue is established with the government. Stable democracies have withstood well economic crises in the past, emerging with renewed economic and social models, like the welfare state in the politically fragile regimes of Western Europe after the Second World War. And of course, the creation of the European Economic Community was itself part of the answer at the time. Economic forecasts made during the last month have pointed to a somewhat uncertain outlook. In an optimistic scenario, the EU and other developed economies could soon overcome economic difficulties and return to a stable economic growth with minimal societal and political scars. But if the economic situation in Europe continues to degrade, the European project itself could face turbulent winds. Taming inflation will require socially costly measures. Populist movements could direct social discontent against the Union, as they have often done in the past. A new anti-EU discourses and movements could emerge. A new economic crisis could increase inequalities and aggravate political divergences among EU countries. However, the EU has already demonstrated it can overcome challenges in constructive and innovative ways that lead to further integration. For example, fairly early after the onset of the pandemic, the EU proposed the Recovery Fund to enhance financial solidarity between EU countries, and later successfully coordinated the Union's first collective vaccination program. The EU fosters a broad active participation of citizens in policymaking, with particular focus on young people. Conference on the Future of Europe was the first pan-EU exercise of this kind. People from all strands of life had an opportunity to make their voices heard on how the EU should evolve in the future.